So gold and oil prices are both up post airstrikes that President Trump did in Iraq against the higher up in Iran. And we'll see how long this continues. The gold price rose in spite of the commitment of traders, the open interest on the commitment of traders that Craig Hemke has been covering, record amounts of open interest. So we got a big pop in gold. The gold price is now at $1,577.71. I think it's down a couple bucks today already. Well, in the last couple hours, it's down a couple bucks. And silver's now above 18 strongly at $18.50. So this is the highest that gold prices in US dollars has been in 6 years. The oil price, there was other news as well. There was a huge crude oil inventory draw. So not only do you have potential geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, you also have OPEC talking about the cuts, and now you have a huge crude oil inventory draw. Let me see if I can pull up the story. Oil prices, so this was from January 3rd by Irina Slav. Oil prices climb higher on huge crude oil inventory draw. Crude oil prices jumped higher a couple days ago after the Energy Information Administration reported a crude oil inventory decline for the last week of 2019. The draw totaled an impressive 11.5 million barrels. So in the long term, these inventory numbers of too much inventory or inventory draws don't affect the oil price a lot, but in the short term they do. So analysts had expected, these analyst estimates are always really off. For these short-term either inventory increases or inventory draws, analysts had expected a decline of only 3.167 million barrels, and instead the draw was 11.5 million barrels. After the EIA, the Energy Information Administration, reported a draw of 5.5 million barrels for the week to December 20th. So at 429.9 million barrels, U.S. crude oil inventories are at the 5-year seasonal average. Bullish oil. If the Middle East tensions continue and OPEC doesn't cheat, maybe oil will stay in a higher trading range. There's really a lot of problems with a lot of the oil industry globally. As I've been highlighting now for a while, most of the capex for oil has gone into solely the Permian and shale. So you have, this was predictable, at least in the past, when there was more geopolitical tensions, when there was potentially more problems in the Middle East. In the past, at least, gold and oil used to both rise together. Gold prices in US dollars and oil. However, for a while now, it was inconsistent because the gold price would get smashed. So the gold price was acting counterintuitively. The paper gold price, when it should have risen on past geopolitical problems, the gold price would have gotten smashed. But now that the gold price is heading higher, or at least short-term heading higher, it will be interest. And the dollar index, by the way, is still almost back up to 97. And the trade-weighted dollar index is at above 129. We are sure to get the usual anti-gold crowd out on Twitter and the mainstream media like Joe Wiesenthal and Mark Dow and most of the former Federal Reserve PhD economists like Neil Kashkari out on Twitter making fun of anyone who likes gold. I've been working on a number of projects, a number of slide deck projects, so I didn't have time to finish it tonight because it would have taken too much work. So I'm just doing this short update on gold, on oil prices and gold both rising. But I am working on all the different crazy bailouts that the Chinese government is doing. And by the way, there's a lot of them and a lot of different types. And I have screenshots of that. It's really crazy, all the different types of bailouts. There's so many bailouts right now that Xi has had to bring in another dozen or so finance experts to help with the dollar defaults and the bailouts. That's how crazy. So he's brought in all these czars. It's nuts how many different bailouts China's doing since May. So I'm working on a slide deck project with that. I have most of the slides done. So I have to record the audio, and I have to sync the audio with the slides, and then I have to edit the audio. But a lot of that project's done, and then I have like a slide deck on the NASDAQ and shares of Apple, and how crazy the NASDAQ has been going, and how crazy Apple shares have been going since May. Because Apple was having a lot of problems until May. And then all of a sudden, Apple increased their share buybacks massively and increased the dividend, and the stock got supercharged. So I'm working on a couple of those different projects. Also for my Patreon account contributors who did not have problems with their credit card or debit card companies. And there's been about 20 people, I think, that have gotten their Patreon account subscription canceled by their credit card or their debit card companies. But I just uploaded a 17-minute audio podcast about analyzing the Kirkland Lake Gold and the Detour Gold deal. So there's been more information that's coming out, and I talked about some of the problems, some of the major question marks and some of the problems. The numbers on paper, though, if Kirkland Lake Gold can actually get the Detour Gold mine optimized to 900,000 ounces per year of gold and get the cost lowered from right around $1,200 per ounce down to $800 per ounce, are pretty amazing. So it's obviously a big if. So it's easier said than done to do that, and we don't have any of the exact estimates for the costs of what Kirkland Lake Gold says it's going to cost. Now, there was old technical reports, but I'm sure they'll have to reissue those to the market with new updates for what the costs are going to be. But if that happens, I mean, the free cash flow at that miner is going to be nuts if Kirkland Lake Gold can actually get that done. So I talk about that in the podcast. That's for Patreon account subscribers only. For my over 200, hopefully more than that soon, Patreon account contributors, there is an added bonus there. I also have the written portion. I had a little bit of a sore throat. I have some allergy problems and colds. So I have the article written that I read analyzing that. So I might also upload the written portion of analyzing the Kirkland Lake Gold deal and the Detour Gold deal. I might upload that to Patreon too in a little bit after the show. So if you didn't like the audio or couldn't fully understand anything, I talk about free cash flow margin in there, and I think that's important. You don't hear a lot of other analysts talk about that, because the numbers that they're putting out, if they're putting out what the all-in sustaining cost is at the mine and what the current metals price is, then you can figure out what their free cash flow margin is. Greg says the anti-gold crowd likes MMT. I don't know if Joe Wiesenthal and those guys like MMT. I think those guys are just highly paid propagandists. Mark Dow used to work. He used to be assistant treasury secretary or something. I mean, some of his tweets, he makes fun of libertarians. He makes fun of Austrian school economics. He makes fun of gold people. I mean, I think he defends the government on pretty much everything except for Trump. He seems to be very status quo, very big government. No, I didn't see a documentary on surveillance capitalism. China's being used as a test ground, though, for a lot of that. Thoughts on vaulting services like Bullion Vault or others? I haven't investigated a lot of these different Bullion services. Sprott has a couple. Sprott Money has a couple different ones. There's a bunch of different ones. A lot of them have minimums, though. Like Egon von Greyer's James Bond one in Switzerland, there's a really high minimum. Most people can't afford to be one of his customers. I mean, Gold Money's having all these problems. Have you guys, Gold Money now, like the regulatory people are going after them, and now they're charging $10 a month. So there's some big problems with a lot of these different bullion vaulting services. It seems Gold Money, the regulators are going after Gold Money the most right now. The banks may be getting long gold. Some of the public comments, Mr. Freeze, from some of the large investment banks over the last couple of months have been very bullish gold. I think Goldman Sachs, if I remember correctly, in the last month or two, Goldman Sachs publicly said for free, and normally like the free information for the Muppets is not good, but they actually said that they thought gold would be at 1,600 in 2020, and there was a couple other investment banks, I can't remember which ones off the top of my head, that said gold would be at 1,600 or 1,700 in 2020. So I think anyone who looks at all these different central bank balance sheets, central bank balance sheets expanding rapidly is good for gold. Negative yielding debt is good for gold. Inverted yield curves, which we don't have inverted yield curves anymore right now in the US because the Fed did a bunch of intervention, but that's good for gold. There's a bunch of different factors that are good for gold right now. Rob, have you read customer reviews for these bullion services? I would look at customer reviews because the customer reviews for services like Gold Money are really bad. And a lot of the little customers, they're totally screwing over. I have to get on the phone with customer service, I think now, and I have to get my... they closed down my account because Gold Money has been closing down a lot of accounts lately, and I have to get my capital wired to my bank account. Even though I have just under a full ounce of gold at Gold Money, they closed down my account anyway. Thank you for the super chat, Justin. So, the people out there who say every time the paper price manipulators increase the open interest and every time the open interest for gold increases, that guarantees the price is going to get smashed, the paper price is going to get smashed. It didn't happen this time. So the gold price did briefly go down on the open interest over the last couple weeks, but now it's starting to rally again in spite of that. So we'll see what happens. I need a better mic. I have a $130 microphone here. I have a Blue Yeti USB one. It's good. I think I just have like a little cold. Did you guys see that President Trump now, PJ Media is reporting that President Trump has an $80 million bounty on his head from the Iranian government? Thank you, Tarkinas, for the super chat. I appreciate it. That's it? Only $80 million? Well, I can't remember a time in my lifetime where another government actually publicly said that there's a bounty on the head of a U.S. president. Trump's hairpiece is worth $80 million. Why doesn't he just get Bosley? Or Hair Club for Men? I mean, the results there look pretty good. If I get up to 1,000 Patreon account contributors, maybe I'll do that for myself. I'm not bald. I have generic propecia. Stuff works really well. Yeah, Rob, I would look into customer reviews. It might be hard to get accurate ones, though. There's so many complaints about Gold Money now. All the little guys are getting screwed for Gold Money. Hell, I even got screwed. I got screwed on an advertising deal with them, too, and as a customer. Apparently, with the little customers, I was told by someone who works at Gold Money that they were only making 30 cents per customer, so it just wasn't worth keeping little customers. The regulatory compliance costs are so high, according to Peter Schiff. Yeah, gold jumped big. Mitch, gold jumped big. Yep, we had a big pop in gold. Gold is up 1.59%. Silver is up 2.29%. And Palladium, this is shocking, a little shocking, I mean, I've been talking about the supply shortages because I interviewed David Jansen, but palladium's over $2,000 an ounce. And you're going to have all these people saying platinum is the best deal, you have to buy it, you have to play the ratio. There are some legitimate reasons why palladium is this high. Palladium is over $2,000 an ounce at $2,024.12. You can go and look in the archives. I talked about palladium a while ago, years ago. David Jansen, I had him on for an interview. He was talking about the palladium shortage and the lease rates. Putin broke the palladium market on the LBMA, London Bankers. $2,000 an ounce gold by the end of 2020. Interesting. Thomas, I did a video a couple days ago. Did you see my dollar tug-of-war video? So the dollar, what's going on with the dollar is a lot more complicated than dollar collapse or drastically devalued dollar or very strong dollar rally. So, Thomas, if you're asking me what the dollar is going to do, I would take a look at the video I did a couple days ago, dollar tug-of-war. There are two very powerful forces in a very strong tug-of-war against the dollar. And if you've ever watched a tug-of-war match, like on the internet or on TV or in person, if it's a evenly matched tug-of-war teams, two very strong teams, for a while the flag that represents the tug-of-war, it might not move very much. And for the last 2 years, this is what has happened. And it might continue in the short term. But I know a lot of people, a lot of financial professionals who have watched the dollar, listened to what I've said in the dollar tug-of-war video. It's a short video. It's just audio anyway, but with a cool little tug-of-war dollar tug-of-war background. And what they've said is it's good analysis, but that the dollar is going to drastically devalue soon. One of them said that, and in another one I asked about it said, well, the dollar is going to rally a lot more. So they admitted that yes, the dollar's been in a tug-of-war, but they think it'll end soon. And I'm saying, well, not so fast. We don't know if it's going to end soon. We could see the dollar not devaluing that quickly against other currencies. I mean, obviously, long term, what the Fed has done to the dollar is bad, but now we have as I talked about yesterday, we have these current and former Federal Reserve economists that want to double the inflation rate. They're talking about doubling a 4% inflation target and trying to devalue the dollar faster. COMEX manipulated by Fed smackdown gold. No, it's the bullion banks normally in the past that have done this, that do the paper price manipulation with the amounts of open interest and the high frequency trading algorithms that hit the paper gold price at a very illiquid trading hours. A lot of times it's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Eastern time, 4 a.m. Eastern time. So it's before the New York COMEX opens. That's when it's normally done. But in the past, I want to say the past like 6 or 7 years, when there was geopolitical tensions rising, the paper gold price would not rise. So we got a big pop in the gold price on geopolitical tensions. Let's see. Rumble Belly says price of gold on track for $1,700 an ounce. Let's see how many tries it takes gold to hold $1,600 first. Because there's been a real concerted effort to try to cap gold around $1,500. But it looks to me like a lot of the dips are being bought. The Raven, I already talked about open interest. I mentioned that. I said open interest is at record highs. And normally, because Turd Ferguson, Craig Hemke, TF Metals, there was an interesting interview recently that Craig Hemke did for Silver Bullion TV. Not sure if he's a listener to this podcast. But they were talking about analyzing the commitment of traders and what that means for manipulation and the open interest and things like that. So I already talked about that earlier. So in spite of the massive record open interest, for paper gold, the gold price popped today, which is rare because normally that doesn't happen. And normally on geopolitical news lately for years now, the gold price has not popped. Wow, that is really weird here with the YouTube censorship. It says 0 people are watching this live stream feed now, and I'm getting all these comments coming in the live chat. So something is definitely broken. You're not paranoid if someone's actually out to get you. It says 0 people are watching. I could literally take a screenshot. So something's definitely not. No, it says 0. I'm looking at it right now. Well, my software is messed up. Please click the like button. That is so weird. You know what? I have to take a screenshot of this because it says 0 people are watching. You guys don't believe me. I'm going to have to take a screenshot of this. Okay, I took a screenshot of this, and I'll put this in the Wall Street for Me Street Facebook group. Wait, that's weird. Now it just worked again. It says 184. So it wasn't working now for a last minute or two. Now it's working again. That is really weird. It's never happened before. So weird. Okay, so I'm working on other projects, and I just uploaded some nice audio analysis for my Patreon account contributors, and I will upload the written analysis I did for the Kirkland Lake Gold deal and the Detour Lake Gold deal. There's a lot of major questions that have to be answered. Also, Eric Sprott has made some very interesting public comments about the deal on the Sprott Money podcast over the last month or so. So you can listen to those for free. And Sprott he's arguably the most successful Kirkland Lake Gold shareholder. He made supposedly $500 million in the last 3 or 4 years on Kirkland Lake. Okay, so I think that's it for right now. This was just going to be a short little video, and I will try to get that written analysis uploaded for my Patreon account contributors. So I just got my largest ever check from Patreon yesterday on Sunday. So thank you very much for everyone allowing me to focus on doing this full time, paying the bill, and this paying the bills. So it's great. Made a lot of progress in the last 10 or 12 months. A lot. Busting my butt, hustling my butt off, and trying to produce really good content, research, information, analysis, and education. Okay, that's it for tonight. Slate. I got my college girl my phone's off, so you guys didn't want to hear all the beeping, but I have to send her some text. Okay, guys, good night for now.